108. In this floor of the House, there are no government senators. What the Constitution recognizes under Article 108 is majority and minority. Is it in order for the Kiambu senator to refer government senators? Is it in order?
Senator Thangwa, can you use the correct language? It's a majority or minority?
Madam Speaker, as I was saying that I'm not sure whether to support or to oppose, because when you see the majority side of this House, that's always fight for the same government. Even when you mention the name Ruto, they'll come up with a point of order. When you mention that name, there will always a point of order, Mr. Speaker. Today, they are telling us to oppose the government that they have always been defending here. So I'm a little bit conflicted, Madam Speaker. And as I was saying, that is one of the reasons. I'm trying to understand what they're trying to do. But number two, Madam Speaker, number two, the PS for Environment wrote to the same committee on 25th of July this year, a few days ago, telling the committee, I have withdrawn the regulations. Give me a bit of time to go and conduct fresh public participation. So, Madam Speaker, the government is willing to do fresh public participation. But here, we are being told, let's nullify. So that's what I'm saying, I'm for sure not understanding. But I will support them for only one reason. Support the annulment. Because, Madam Speaker, this public participation, which is very important that we consult Kenyans frequently, was done 7 years ago. And those who do or conduct public participation are from 18 and above. So if we say somebody was 17 years then, today they are 24, Madam Speaker. So that means there's a group of people that would want to comment on this issue. But that is not my point even, Madam Speaker. My point is, we understand, because we need to consult Kenyans frequently, and we understand Kenyans change their mind, Madam Speaker, it's good to keep on consulting them. Because even as we stand here, there are people we voted for in 2022, and we have already changed our mind. Those are 3 years ago. So, Madam Speaker, when it comes to 7 years ago, so many people changed their mind on this issue. Even those who are not consulted then, they are of age and they can be consulted today, Madam Speaker. So I'm only supporting them on that issue because we have been vindicated. People can change their mind in whatever time, Madam Speaker. So for now, I'm supporting them because of that. And we would want that the CS conducts fresh and inclusive public participations so that we can hear what Kenyans are saying, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you also recall that we passed a law called the Climate Change
Senator
Act.
Thangwa, just before you proceed, the last time I checked the records, I think you are a majority senator. So I think what we need to take into account that every senator here has the freedom to contribute as they wish.
Yes, Madam Speaker, but we rarely see that. Madam Speaker, I was saying that if you recall in 2023, this House plus the National Assembly, we passed or amended the Climate Change Act 2023. And they go in tandem with the same Act of Environment Management and Coordination Act, Madam Speaker. So if we dealt with with matters climate or matters environment in the Climate Act, then they could have probably affected these regulations that were enacted or that were drafted 7 years ago, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, some stakeholders say they were not consulted. And it is always nice, and that's what I'm saying, and that's what I'm not understanding. The majority, call me in there, but I know myself, Madam Speaker. I don't understand why they are so much into it that this time we want to listen to the people. But on some instances, Madam Speaker, when we are on this floor, nobody wants to listen to the people. And that's what we have been saying, Madam Speaker. But we have indicated, and we are happy. And this should be the spirit, that everything that comes to this floor, let the people be listened to. Let the people be consulted. Let there be public participation, Madam Speaker. And that's what they're saying, Madam Speaker. It has been quoted out there, skiza ground, Madam Speaker. People should be listened to at whatever level, at whatever aspect, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, what you are calling for by annulling these regulations, Madam Speaker, is that we call for fresh, inclusive engagement. That's all, Madam Speaker, and I support the annulment.
Senator Sifuna.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to start by, applauding the Committee on Delegated Legislation led by Gataya Mofire for this bold decision that has led the House to rally behind the entire committee. That when something is wrong, we as a leadership have a responsibility to say that it is wrong. Honorable Speaker, the key reason why the committee has decided that we annul these regulations is because the ministry responsible is bringing to us regulations claiming that participation of the people was had 7 years ago. That is in 2018, Honorable Speaker. Very many things have changed between now and 2018. In fact, Honorable Speaker, I don't think that 7 years ago I had just been appointed as SG of ODM. There's been a long period. This is my 8th year there. There's a lot of things that have changed, including in the political space. Speaker, just for perspective and to understand how important it is for the government to understand that when Parliament passes a law, it is the responsibility of government to operationalize that law so that the people can enjoy the benefits of that legislation. It is unconscionable to go 7-10 years without actually having actualized the law. And I want to give this House the most poignant of examples, Honorable Speaker. There is a bill that we passed as a Parliament in 2017 called the National Coroner's Service Bill. In the current context of the discussions about police brutality and the killings that are attributable to the security forces, Honorable Speaker, and the difficulty that the Independent Policing Oversight Authority is facing investigating these crimes and actually bringing rogue officers to book, Honorable Speaker, it is unconscionable that 8 years later, somebody is sitting on the regulations that would operationalize the National Coroner's Service Bill. This particular bill, Honorable Speaker, would require mandatory reporting of all deaths and setting up of a coroner's service that would investigate all violent and sudden and suspicious deaths and make it easier for IPOA and the prosecutorial powers to actually go after the rogue police officers. Honorable Speaker, I am happy that in this particular House, out of the NADCO process, one of the NADCO bills, we have made a proposal to criminalize or to put criminal penalty on people whose responsibility it is to bring these regulations and who either neglect, fail, or refuse to come up with the regulations or sit on them. I was told a story, Honorable Speaker, that there exists a situation in this country that the head of public service has abrogated himself the right to approve gazette notices and the gazettement of regulations. Now, as far as I understand the legislative process, Honorable Speaker, the head of public service has no legal basis or constitutional basis to be the one to determine the contents of regulations when they are gazetted, or if at all they are gazetted. It is something that needs to be looked into, Honorable Speaker, because these issues are critical. These issues are critical, Honorable Speaker. When we talk about the specter of extrajudicial killings, people think we are just saying because we like to oppose everything that government is doing. But they have consequences on the standing of the country and the nation that is Kenya on the world stage. Just recently we were told, Honorable Speaker, that the US Congress is now reviewing the major NATO ally status of Kenya, and part of the review will cover these cases of abductions, torture, and violence against civilians. It has become difficult for us to find justice against the rogue police officers who have killed our young people because of failure by people in government to actually put in place regulations for important bills, such as the Coroner's Service Bill. Speaker, I will not take more time than that, just to appreciate our colleagues in that committee chaired by Mofaya, Senator Faki, Maanzo Montet, and the others, including Boy Juma, for putting a foot down. And the point that the senator for Nyabira was making, Honorable Speaker, which I thought was misunderstood, is that every single opportunity, we as a House must validate our space in the constitutional order, because there exists separation of powers. The executive should not know how the House will treat a proposal that comes from them before the proposal lands on the floor, because there is an expectation that we've been given constitutional power by the people to give an objective view of every single proposal that has come from the executive, so that it doesn't matter if I was elected on the ruling party or the party that is in opposition. I, as a member of this House exercising that legislative power, at the very minimum should give Kenyans an objective review of that proposal before I say nay or yay. Speaker, Khalwale has just informed me that the hospital where my placenta was cut has now been shut down. And it reminded me of the debate about Senator Kajwang's former university.
Senator, it's the placenta of your mother.
The placenta is shared by the mother and the child. I don't think any party can claim whose placenta it is. It is also mine, and I can text my mother here to confirm whose placenta it was.
Proceed, Senator.
But anyway, it reminded me of that debate, Honorable Speaker. I don't know if you recall, when Moi University was facing closure, and Senator Kajwang, who went to Moi University, was asking, now what will I tell people when they ask me, which school did you go to? How can you make reference to an institution that does not exist anymore? So I am finding myself in the same dilemma as the senator from Homa Bay, Honorable Speaker, that now I can no longer convince people that I was born in a decent faith-run institution, Honorable Speaker, because it has been closed down. And we must do everything. We must do everything. Because in 1982, Honorable Speaker, to find an institution such as that was able to safely deliver somebody who can become a senator for Nairobi, it was not easy, Honorable Speaker. So it breaks my heart that has befallen that hospital, and all it takes is for this government to ensure that the system they have put in place when it comes to management of our healthcare, it works. If it works, you don't need to defend it. You see, this is the problem I have, Honorable Speaker. Everybody can see when something is working, and if you defend it so hard, and the people in the villages there. I was in a very rural village called Luhome, somewhere in Saboti, Honorable Speaker, over the weekend. And I can tell you, the question was put to those women. They have lost Linda Mama. SHA is no longer working. It doesn't work for them. So why do we insist, instead of just taking back this feedback and tweaking the system, the way that CBK dealt with the questions that were raised about voiding of payments, and they have told us that they have taken steps to ensure that it will no longer be possible for county officials to void payments. That is the sort of government we want, a government that just listens to criticism and takes corrective measures. I was very pleased myself when, after bringing the question of university accommodation fees here, the ministry actually took steps to correct that. That is what we expect from a government that is responsive, not just being defensive and sending hecklers to heckle us down here in Parliament whenever we raise these issues. People like, I don't want to mention them, Honorable Speaker. I've finished. Thank you.
Senator Tabitha Mutinda.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I rise, first of all, to really appreciate the Committee of Delegated Legislation, led by none other than the Senator of Tharaka Nithi, Mofaya. Madam Speaker, I was just looking at the issues that the committee looked at, you know, as far as, yes, we are trying to address that the issue of public participation, which was lastly conducted in 2015. 10 years down the line, Madam Speaker, according to the report that I've looked into, although I've had colleagues talk about 2018, but just to clarify from their report, they're saying that it was the year 2015, Madam Speaker. I've also tried to look at the issues that they were able to raise, Madam Speaker, and they are very valid issues. One of them, Madam Speaker, being on the issues of the cost or the fees that needs to be charged. These are fees that had been proposed those 10 years ago, Madam Speaker. We are 10 years down the line and things have changed. And the committee felt that there needs to be an intervention as far as these fees are concerned, because the fees that had been proposed at that particular time were on the higher side, Madam Speaker. The other issues that I've also looked at that the committee was also able to raise was the issue of obstruction by community members from accessing the resources in the forest, Madam Speaker. And the committee felt that this needs to have changed because it protects their interest as a community, and there should not be obstruction in them being able to access. These are very valid concerns, Madam Speaker. And these issues can only be addressed when proper public fair participation is done, and the people are given an opportunity to be able to air their views, give their proposals, offer their submissions, Madam Speaker, so that some of these issues can be able to be addressed. And it is good that institutions respect the process of legislation, the process that requires maximum public participation. Madam Speaker, that is why we normally, as committees, have budgets of media budgets. These are budgets that are entitled to each committee, whereby the committee is able to advertise to the public for those who wish to participate in the public participation, Madam Speaker, so that they are able to maximally bring in their views. The committee is able to look at, into those issues and also be able to give guidance or see what fits here, what does not fit here, and all that. That is the main reason, Madam Speaker. And it is important, Madam Speaker, to say, if it was just in our space to legislate without public participation, then, it will not really be fair to the public, because these laws are not for us as individuals, as members. These laws are for this country, Madam Speaker. And they cut across for every Kenyan, Madam Speaker. And so, advertisement of the same is very important. Madam Speaker, I've seen also whereby the same committee, delegated committee, Madam Speaker, was able to question where, if the ministry had prepared and submitted a regulatory impact statement, and there was no documentation that had been provided to show whether the public was notified, Madam Speaker. And the committee was able to trace that there was no documentation that could be traced at all. Very valid concerns, meaning that the committee was able to dig deeper. First, on if there was any documentation, and two, analyzing the regulations that are currently in place. Are they worthy to be in place in this year, 2025? Madam Speaker, further then, when you look at the years that we're talking about from 2015 to date, when we normally invite most of these public offices or these different stakeholders, in most cases they are normally accompanied by their legal teams. And so I really wonder where the legal department has been, because this is laxity for the legal department in the same ministry. They should be the ones advising the minister. They should be the ones advising as far as all these concerns, are. Because if they had done their part, then we would not be actually here looking at this nullification. And I'm bringing this because, Madam Speaker, they should be able now and should work with speed with the same leadership of the committee to ensure that they submit the right changes through the same public participation and properly advise the same ministry so that these changes can be adapted with the current place where we are today in 2025. And I speak from where I sit as also a member of the climate caucus led by ours truly, Senator Kajwang. Because today in 2025, we are speaking matters climate change. These are issues that need to be captured in the same regulations, Madam Speaker. And I feel it's just a matter of the people, the officials or officers who are mandated to be able to undertake their legal mandate have not been up to the task as required, Madam Speaker. And it should be known that public participation is not specific to any, it is open to all Kenyans, to all stakeholders who want to have and put their input as far as specific legislation is concerned, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as the debate has been going on, I've been keen to hear my colleagues when they talked about the issue of SHA, Madam Speaker. And this is a very important discussion. I speak as a member of the Health Committee, Madam Speaker, and we've been out there doing our oversight, visiting different hospitals, level 5 hospital, the county, sub-county hospitals, and I personally have been keen on getting to understand, is SHA working? And if it's not working, what is the challenge? And Madam Speaker, in most, and as recent as Kilifi County, where we were actually last weekend, one of my concerns was from the desk of, is it the desk of admissions, the person who is in charge in terms of receiving payments, and also the issues of SHA. And we were able to ask as a committee, is SHA working? The response was, yes, it is working. The only challenge that was in place is that there was no digitalization. People had to really leave their ID cards, be given a small form, they fill up, but also the same clients or the patients who are in that particular hospital, we were able to interact with them and ask them, is SHA working? And according to them, they said yes, and they are certain that the process is ongoing, Madam Speaker. There should be conversations of, this is the specific challenge. It cannot just be generalized that it is not working. It is good to say what specifically is not working. What is the exact problem? What is the exact challenge, Madam Speaker? But not just a generalization that a system is not working. I've had my senator talk about the hospital that he proudly says he was born in, which is good, and asked, what will I tell the future generation, my generation, if this hospital does not exist? It's the same question I asked today. What will we say if we still continue allowing people to put fire in this country, to burn this country? Then where will we say we are coming from? Which Kenya will we call home, Madam Speaker? It is important that as much as we are highlighting the problem, we highlight the problem, and at the same time, offer solution unto the same problem. It cannot just be negative critique without a solution. Leadership is identifying the problem, and leadership is also offering the same problem on the same platform. We are not going to get out here in Senate after 2027 with certificate of either who was shouting more than the other, who had more point of orders than the other. It is not about that. It is what we've been able to deliver as a house. There is no law that is for Senator Boni Halwale. There is no law that is for Senior Senator Oburu Odinga. This law is for us as a country, as the people of this nation. That should sink very well, Madam Speaker. But it's not about the highest shouting person. With those many and few, I really appreciate the committee on the same and urge them through their leadership to fast track that these amendments and these regulations will be up to date. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Kajwang.
Madam Speaker, I rise to support the recommendation of the Committee on Delegated Legislation that the House should annul the Environmental Management and Coordination, Strategic and Integrated Environmental Assessments and Environmental Audits Regulations 2025 of 2025. Madam Speaker, I have looked at the two main reasons that have been advanced by the committee, and I do agree that those reasons are solid enough for this House to be moved to annul those regulations. The first reason given is lack of public participation. Public participation on these regulations were done in the year 2018. And Madam Speaker, if you live in this country, You know that the political environment and terrain in this country has changed significantly from 2018 to date. Perhaps even the aspirations of Kenyans have changed. Perhaps even the policy and focus of government has changed. In fact, it has changed significantly. In 2018, Madam Speaker, we are talking of the Big Four. And 2018, Madam Speaker, one very interesting thing is that Senator Boni Khalwale and I were riding on the top of a similar vehicle when we were welcoming Baba from the United States of America. And we were tear gassed, we were clobbered for 6 hours. When we got to Gikomba, Madam Speaker, the traders in Gikomba came out with the sticks and rungus and were generally very violent. Senator Boni Khalwale disappeared. I've not known to date how he got out of my car, but the situation was very tense. That was 2018. Today, Boni Khalwale is a chief whip of the government. And so the views given in 2018, really, Madam Speaker, we cannot use them to support or to augment regulations in the year 2025. Madam Speaker, we have moved full cycle from Big Four. We went to handshake. We went to Tanga regime. We got into a new government that started with bottom up. And then from bottom up, it was, after bottom up, it was, before it was shareholders. It was a government of shareholders. After becoming a government of shareholders, it then became a government whose, to whom the most urgent national priority was to eject the deputy president. And then after that, it became the government of broad base. And now, at least, the nation has stabilized. Madam Speaker, you cannot use public participation of 2018 to support regulations today. A lot of things have changed in this country. And in fact, Madam Speaker, to be honest, if, assuming the former deputy president was involved in public participation in 2018 in these regulations, do you think we will hold the same views that he held in 2018 today? Definitely not. And that is why public participation must be timely. It must be current. It must be relevant. It needs to be fresh. It needs to be like news. On that basis, Madam Speaker, I agree with the committee that these regulations must be annulled and should be rejected. The second basis is that when the regulations were published, the fees and tariffs were not included. And Madam Speaker, that is an extremely material feature or aspect of regulations that cannot be ignored. Because the Statutory Instruments Act has a very clear definition of what a statutory instrument is. And Madam Speaker, for avoidance of doubt, it talks about any rule, any order, any regulation, any direction, any form, any tariff of costs or fees. You cannot exclude tariff of costs and fees from such regulation and then give the Cabinet Secretary the power to impose that. Madam Speaker, we must remember that delegated legislation or statutory instruments, I think in the UK they call it secondary legislation. It is this parliament that has donated the power that has been given to it by the people to the executive.